the four principles that are critical to the integrity of the standardization system and are enshrined in principles at the World Trade Organization as well are openness and consensus and balance. Due process is the fourth principle. Consensus means that there is general agreement amongst all the participants in the standards development process in the consensus body, in the standards committee. And if you need to go back to the balance principle to understand a little bit better what consensus means. So balance of interests means that no one type of interest dominates the process. So you don't have a standards committee made up of only of manufacturers of a product or only users of a product. There's a significant effort on the part of standards developing organizations to ensure that materially interested and affected parties are engaged, or at least have the opportunity to engage in the process. And therein comes the next step of consensus. So you've got competing interests, potentially, in a consensus process. The users of a product don't necessarily have the same perspective as the manufacturers of the product, or insurers, if that were relevant. And you bring all of these different parties together, and they come to general agreement on the technical aspects of a document. A standard goes through various voting gates. It's developed in a draft and goes through a committee vote, and then further development based on comments that are received, and go through a series of different votes till you reach a final document. At any stage in that process, you're going to have individual constituencies voting who may disagree with a particular aspect of a standard. So consensus means addressing those disagreements and getting the standards developing committee to the stage where most of the participants are in agreement and there's no substantial disagreement. It does not mean unanimity. In most cases, a consensus evolves naturally, and the committee is generally can identify when they've reached a consensus, and you can take the product to the next stage. In some cases, there's a numerical test which is applied. I've mentioned in earlier discussions, the International Organization for Standardization says that consensus is general agreement, and if you want to be particularly specific, it's 75% vote yes. The remainder can vote no or can abstain. So there are numerical tests that are applied in some standards developing organizations, but the general approach is that general agreement with no substantial disagreement.